I'm Ani Halamizer, Associate Editor at Greenbiz Group, and I'm here with Joshua Stanbro, Chief Resilience Officer for the City of Honolulu. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good to be here.
Great. And you were recently appointed in your role, and how do you, what's the precedent for the work that you do? What is the biggest challenge in your job?
Well, I mean, it's been all of 4 weeks now that I've been on the job, so I'm still discovering that. I mean, the precedent is really, we're part of this network that the Rockefeller Foundation and 100 Resilient Cities, they've selected 100 cities across the globe to pioneer this work around resiliency, and Honolulu was lucky enough to be selected to be part of that cohort. So we're really, learning at the same time that these other 99 cities, like Mumbai and Seattle and others, Lagos, are all coming together and learning about these challenges that are facing us. And the challenges are real, and they're different in every single city. So we've just gone through a process. We brought together 150 people, leaders in the community, 2 weeks ago to begin to identify what are the challenges that face Honolulu. Initially in that conversation, we were really focusing on a lack of affordable housing, infrastructure, sort of the lack of critical infrastructure, and then natural hazards that are associated with sea level rise and climate change as threats to our city. And those are the ones that we'll be exploring more and potentially working on through the duration of this project.
The council, or the people of Honolulu, recently voted to establish the Department of Resilience, and that is something super unique to Honolulu. That's not the case across the United States, especially now with the federal situation.
Right.
And why is this important to the people, and how do you communicate with the people in the city to establish goals?
Well, I mean, I think we're really lucky that on Oahu, which is the island we're on, and in the city and county of Honolulu, people recognize that there are direct, immediate threats from climate change right now. So last November, they passed a city charter ordinance that basically established this Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency. So this office is dedicated, it'll be there forever because it's in the city constitution now, to really address the threats that we see from climate change and create a more resilient city, and that dovetails with the selection of Honolulu to this 100 cities initiative with the Resilient 100 Cities. So I'm really lucky and proud that our state knows and recognizes. I mean, you can see it today, the king tides that are out there. We've got sort of a sea level right now that you can look out and see what the average level will be a couple decades out. And it's really challenging. I mean, we're seeing, sands covered with roads. I just heard actually today over on Maui, there's a monk seal that's on the highway amongst the sand. And I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we really need to think about when we invest in infrastructure, when we plan, that we're planning for that level of ocean rather than what we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis now.
So you mentioned equity, you mentioned renewable energy, climate change, environmental protection. What are the metrics of success for sustainability and resilience for a city?
Well, so we're going to figure that out. I think for each city has its own goals. But again, here in Hawaii, we've got a great collaboration around the Aloha Plus Challenge. And that collaboration includes the state, the governor has signed off, all 4 county mayors, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and the University of Hawaii. So all the leaders of those entities across the state have essentially pledged to reach certain benchmarks by 2030 that make us more sustainable and resilient. And so that's what we're going to be organizing around in the beginning, is making sure that we're at least meeting our obligations under the Aloha Plus Challenge that are aspirational obligations around natural resources, energy, renewable energy goals. We've got a 100% renewable energy goal by 2045. We're hoping we can hit that before 2045. And then, there's a number of other elements to Aloha Plus that are going to help frame the overall work that we do, and really where the rubber meets the road in all of these cases is the city and county level, where you make day-to-day operations decisions and infrastructure decisions. And we hope that when we make those decisions, we're actually aligning with the overall goals around the 2030 Aloha Plus Challenge.
Absolutely. And I've been hearing the consistent theme throughout this conference about all being in the same canoe, and somebody who brings together all the different parts of the resilience strategy. How do you make sure that everything is working synergistically towards this goal?
It's a big job, and it's going to take a lot of people working together. It's so wonderful that Hokulea came back home after 3 years circling the world on the Malama Honua tour, and it's the perfect timing, right? I mean, we had unfortunately our federal government pull out of the Paris Agreement, and Hokulea came home within the span of a couple weeks. We had all of our 4 counties and the governor sign a commitment to stay in Paris. And I think all of that builds momentum towards people being on the same page. So it's our job really as the sustainability coordinators at each county level and in the sustainability coordinator at the state to make sure that we keep everybody moving in the same direction to the extent we can, and really serving more as facilitators and educators to other departments in the city around here are the goals that we've articulated. Now, can we help you adapt, implement practices that move us closer to that over time. So,
I want to talk about long-term planning. How do you plan for the long term? How do you plan for the long term in terms of technology and sustainability strategy when sustainability challenges are evolving and technology is constantly evolving? How do you stay on top of that and look ahead into the future?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the mantra that we've adopted is really, in order to protect and preserve the things we love about Hawaii, ironically, we're going to have to change and change rapidly. So the more that we sort of dig in and try to resist change, the more we get toppled and change happens despite our best efforts. So we're looking at ways that we can kind of adapt and change and steer and guide the changes that are inevitably going to happen. All the 21st century challenges around climate change impacts, rapidly evolving technology, automation, interconnection with the global economy. We need to sort of make sure that we embrace and be nimble about changing ourselves so that we can direct those things into ways that really help protect the best things about Hawaii, which are our community here, which is a really tight-knit, strong culture and community. And actually that's the key piece for resilience in terms of how we envision resilience is our community interconnected? Are we tight? Are we able to help each other when there is a shock or long-term stresses to the city? And if we can protect that cohesion, that community cohesion, that's really going to set us up for success no matter what stresses are thrown our way.
And it's showing too, because the community voted to have sustainability and resilience as as a very important hallmark of the policy here, and also just remaining in the Paris Agreement. That's very important.
Yep.
And in your opinion, what will it take for Hawaii to reach the 2045 clean electricity mandate, and what is the city's part in playing?
Yeah, well, I think there's 2 parts there. Really, I think because Hawaii is Hawaii, we're a culture and people that are close to the land and really have sort of our fingers on the chords and feeling what's going on with the ocean and with the land around us. So I think there is this natural support and buy-in. They know what's happening around climate change. There was a landslide sort of victory around this office being established. But to get to 2045, you also need public support to make some changes, I think, over time. We've got a lot of momentum to get there. I think we're already, on this island anyways, we're at over 20% renewable energy. But to get to 100%, it's the first 20% is easy. The last 80% is going to be increasingly harder. So we're going to have to change models around storage, energy storage. We're going to have to change models around incentives. We're going to have to change models around community solar to allow all the folks that don't have the ability to put solar on their house because they're renters or whatever else to participate in the market. And really, it's a grid issue. It's making sure that our grid evolves and innovates so that we can absorb all that non-firm power. Without having to rely on fossil fuels. So, there's pumped hydro storage, battery storage. Really solving the storage issue is going to be what sets us free to get to that 2045 mark.
And lastly, when you do reach your goal of 100% renewable electricity before 2045, what do you want to be the cities and this islands of Oahu's message to the world in reaching their own renewable goals?
Well, I think, we are the sort of test bed for this in a lot of ways, right? We have a very small grid. We're not able to lean on folks from outside or neighboring states to bring it in. So if we can figure it out here and get the engineering right, I mean, I think anybody can do it. And really, that's why there's a lot of attention on Hawaii. I think that's why the Verge conference is here, and trying to figure out, how are we doing it, and making sure that our utilities and everyone else is changing and adapting to try to get there. And then really, I mean, I think there's this broader perspective of, what sort of place is Hawaii? Our biggest economy driver is tourism. How do we make sure that there's a nest of sustainability, that we're a sustainable society, so that people feel good about coming to Hawaii, and when they do come to Hawaii, that they learn about how these islands can serve as a model for sustainability around the planet. We're not there yet. We often talk about how we're sort of on the edge, but it doesn't mean necessarily that we're leading in a lot of key measures. We're learning a lot from people here about other practices that we need to be adopting and making sure that we're ahead of the curve.
We all need to learn from each other on this big island, planet Earth. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective, Josh.
Thanks for having me.